Well, there's some tension you see on the set at The View. And the tension actually has nothing to do with how worried they are about school vouchers and everything to do with how worried they are about their jobs, as they should be. And I will explain, but let's watch this now infamous little catfight happening at ABC in New York City.
That they fund students who are already attending private schools. So people with money get those vouchers, use the vouchers to pay less for their private schools, and their kids go on to do well. Where do you get the money from vouchers? You pull those money from those poor schools, Let me just finish this. So wealthy families are overwhelmingly the recipients of school voucher tax credits. I'm not making this up. This has been studied. In 2020, a 2020 study found that only about half of states with voucher programs require teachers to have a bachelor's degree, require teachers to have training, require teachers to have licensing, require participating private schools.
If I may get in, just to make it a conversation.
But because I have children and because I looked at
I went to public school. I believe you got to go to private school.
There is zero statistical significance.
You got to go to
because nobody can figure out what's being said here right now. No, there is no last thing right now. We're going to go to break, and then we're going to come back.
Yes.
Because you can't, what's happening is no one can hear anything anyone is saying, so everybody has to
on it so we can talk.
Well,
that
you know,
goes for you too, my dear.
That's for a word, and she's been talking for 3 minutes.
You took the first 2.
Unbelievable. Okay, so Whoopi has to get in, and now she's really angry, and she's really mad that the cat fight's happening because, of course, she's struggling because her job is on thin ice, mind you. And so she's getting her anger out. Why is this happening now? Trust me, it's not over vouchers. It's over something else. Did you see the headline? If you watched this show, you sure did. By the way, if you watched this show, you would have known that this was coming. It was inevitable. Comcast, NBC, is spinning off its cable networks, which includes none other than MSNBC, CNBC, Oxygen, owned by Oprah or started by Oprah. And so it goes. Sci-Fi's in there too. And they're doing this because, ladies and gentlemen, this is bad business. Like a really bad, hey, we're all over here, right? Reminder to subscribe, share, like, comment, all that good stuff. We're here. Streaming is where it is at. So what is NBC doing? It is keeping its streaming unit. It's keeping its Peacock unit. It's keeping its broadcast unit. And it's getting rid of the headache. You see, these companies, these cable companies, they don't make a ton of money for them. In fact, all in, they made about $7 billion there for Comcast last year, compared with the company, which is making over 100. So it's a small fraction of their business, but it's a heck of a lot of headache. Think about it. You're going to manage the likes of Rachel Maddow and Joy Behar. Forgive me, Joy Reid over on MSNBC. They're going to manage Joy Behar over at The View. So all of this is just too much, really, for a company that wants to focus on what actually makes money. So it was inevitable. It had to happen. Now we know it has been confirmed. NBC is spinning off MSNBC, its cable units, and hey, they're kind of worried over there on MSNBC that they may all be gone sooner than you think, right?
We could all be fired a year from now whenever this happens. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, you know what? I have more to say on this. I have a feeling those two will be able to hang on. I have a feeling Morning Joe will still be there. It'll be Joy Reid who goes first because she's a serious liability. And then, maybe Rachel Maddow will wind down and she can just do her podcast over and wherever it is that she does it. But they know at NBC what actually the folks at ABC know as well, and that's that there's really no future in that business. So why do you hang on to it? They're done. They're done. A $7 billion business is not worth it for them. I know it sounds like a lot of money, but they're making like 110 over at Comcast. So why do they want this thorn in their side? All the headlines came out. MSNBC is like shocked, totally shocked, because they're coming to this realization that they no longer matter, that they're no longer relevant, something ABC is coming to the conclusion of as well. But take a look at the disdain in their faces, certainly in Mika's, and the shock in their voices as they realize that, guess what, the 20 seconds on Twitter or just the streaming live show like we're doing right here, it means a whole lot more than their 3-4 hour long catastrophe over there on MSNBC every morning.
But again, to hear 20% of adults who actually get influencers on social media.
I don't know
maybe somebody who makes baskets, and while they're making baskets, they look up and say, vote for candidate X.
I don't know how how we make ourselves relevant again, because we can't compete with 20-second snippets on an iPhone, walking up the street, getting your entire news digest of the day in less than a minute on your phone as you're walking into the crowd with coffee in one hand and your phone in the other. I don't know how we catch up to that.
Yeah, so Gene Robinson, do you agree with Mike? Because I find this hard to believe. That younger voters would be more interested in getting an entertaining 20-second news snippet than watching a cable news show for 4 hours.
Okay, that's part of your problem. The fact that you find it hard to believe that you think that people have 3-4 hours to sit around and watch your show all day long. I'm sorry, Joe. That's really not how it works. In fact, you know what we're going to do with this show when it's all said and done? We're going to put it into little clips, and we're going to put them out there for all of you guys to be able to consume, because we understand and we get how you consume your news these days. The ladies on The View don't quite seem to get it, but they see the handwriting on the wall. They see the headlines. They know that MSNBC is being spun off, and they know they are next. They know what Bob Iger said at Sun Valley 2 years ago to David Faber on CNBC. They know that their business is doomed in terms of both its profitability, its longevity, and the network's willingness to put up with them.
And well, you're going through all the things that we want to talk about in the time that we have here. But I mean, just to sort of wrap up why you're staying. I mean, you said in a memo to employees, you've made important and sometimes difficult decisions. You're proud of what you've accomplished, but there's more to accomplish before this transformative work is complete. So what's transformative here, and what is the work that is going to take another perhaps 2 years or even more, even after you do leave, that needs to get done?
Well, the transformative work, of course, is making sure that our cost structure reflects the economic realities of the business, and that includes disruption. Transformative work is dealing with businesses that are no-growth businesses and what to do about them, and particularly the linear business, which we are expansive in our thinking about, and we're going to look expansively about opportunities there, because clearly it's a business that is going to continue to struggle.
Well, let's stop there for a second then and let me ask you about it. We're talking, I guess, ABC, the network, the stations, but then the cable networks as well.
Yes, correct.
FX, Nat Geo. Is it possible you would look to sell them?
We're going to be expansive. I think if you can interpret what that word means. You know, we're just getting at that work, but we have to be open-minded and objective about the future of those businesses. Yes.
Meaning that they're not core to Disney?
That they may not be core to Disney, yeah. Now, there's clearly creativity and content that they create that is core to Disney, but the distribution model, the business model that forms the underpinning of that business and that has delivered great profits over the years is definitely broken. And we have to call it like it is, and that's part of the transformative work we're doing.
Right. Well, we've been having this conversation for a very long time.
Well, I think what I'm saying is
in terms of the erosion of the linear business, and now it's kind of closer to obsolescence.
Well, as I said, when I came back, one of the things I discovered was that the disruptive forces that have been preying on that business for a while are greater than I thought. And
disruptive forces. Ooh, Elon, he's looking at you. He's looking at you. A lot has changed in the media business. And Bob Iger is a realist. He's a businessman, and he needs to make money off of these entities. And he cannot make money off of ABC News at this point or off of The View. And it's a heck of a lot of headache. And so if you don't see a path forward, even though they may be creating content that maybe Disney wants, it's the mechanism by which it's delivered, right? That really has become less and less relevant. How many cord cutters do we have out there? There's a whole bunch of them, right? I'm one myself. I literally cut them. You know how much money I save? So people want to save money. You think about the economic environment we have been in. They've been looking for cost savings, and they found it in that they don't have to pay these gigantic cable bills anymore. So streaming, that's worth something. Content itself is, of course, worth something, but the mechanism, whether it be via broadcast or via cable, is no longer relevant. So the ladies on The View know this, and they're upset about it. You heard all of them at MSNBC saying, how the heck is it that we're not relevant anymore? Some YouTuber with 20-second clips that they show is more relevant than us? I mean, how could that possibly be? And Joy's coming to the same conclusion. Why is it that anybody watches Joe Rogan, she's asking, all while simultaneously saying, we have the backing of ABC News. Hey, hate to tell you this, Joy, but no one watches ABC News either, and nobody respects ABC News either. I do recall a 3-on-1 debate with President Trump, Kamala Harris, and David Muir and a woman who I had never seen before and hopefully won't be watching much more of in the future, ganging up on Donald Trump. It was a 3 against 1. Here's Joy.
That's why people like our show, because they know that we are checked by ABC News. But
We're checked by everybody.
Yeah, I mean, if we're wrong, we have, the legal note here.
The human legal note?
But we went from Walter Cronkite basically to this guy, Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. I checked it. He believes in dragons? He believes in dragons.
Did you triple source that?
Yes, I did. And he also thinks that dragons, like dinosaur type of animals, roamed the earth when people did. So this is the type of really, really bad information that's going out there.
Well, in defense, there are some really good news.
It's possible that Donald Trump did roam the earth when dinosaurs were here.
There are.
Wow. Okay. The poor lone conservative Alyssa Farah, who's pretty anti-Trump, but nonetheless, she's supposed to play the role of conservative on the show. She just keeps getting trounced. But you hear that? They're like, oh, we're okay. We're okay because we're ABC News. Good luck with that one. Good luck with that one. The other problem here is the total arrogance. The fact that they're going to look down on Joe Rogan, who has built an empire. I mean, it's unbelievable how many people are watching him. Quick reminder, make sure you subscribe, share, like. It's unbelievable how many people are watching this. I mean, I just started it like a year and a half ago. We started going live, and what do you know? You build it, they will come. Thank you guys for all that you do to make this show a success. We are coming up on 500,000, so fingers crossed we get there very soon. But it's this kind of arrogance. The media is so damn arrogant. They think that they know it all, and the politicians that rule the world, they're so arrogant too because they get the media in their back pocket, and the media is just supposed to do what they tell the media to do, and that way you can prevent any of this quote-unquote fake news from getting out there, right? Seems to me they were the ones with all the fake news. More on that in a moment, but first here's Bill Clinton with a little snobbery himself, just saying, these people, they're not that bright. They're just not that bright. They'll believe anything you tell them.
Politics is the only business in which you can prove your authenticity by not knowing anything. And I think that's a problem, and we'll pay for it unless we get over it. But that's a problem for the Democrats, too. We have to learn to talk to people in ways that they can relate to that explains that. That's why, when I helped, I did my best to help this time. I didn't want to go to any big rallies and big television things. I just wanted to get in the country. Just go out and talk to people. Because I think that we're behind in the sense that a lot of the small town and rural people are now highly sophisticated in how they get their information. And there are zillions of new websites now, all trying to advance their sort of conservative to right-wing radical cause. And
that can't happen, right? God forbid you might actually get some information from another source other than the mainstream legacy media that was on speed dial with every government agency. That's what's alarming. I mean, you think about the lack of trust people have now in the media and in the government as a result of them, right? They broke it. They're the ones that sat there and said, oh, no. Russia. Oh, and that laptop, Hunter Biden's laptop, that's just Russian disinformation, misinformation, fed to you courtesy of Rudy Giuliani. And then they told us that virus that knocked out the country for 2020 could never have possibly come from Wuhan, China. No. You weren't allowed to say that. And now they all agree, yep, that's where it came from, except for the CIA, which remains evenly divided. But every other three-letter agency admits it now. So you understand that people get a little bit sick and tired. It's like the little boy who cried wolf. And then they sat there and they told us over and over and over again, you know this, how Donald Trump was a total threat. An existential threat. Apparently he's not anymore. KJP getting this question from a reporter just moments ago saying, why is it that there's no more talk of this existential threat? Here we go.
It's been more than 2 weeks since the election. This was an election that elected a man that President Biden has repeatedly referred to as an existential threat. So why is it that the American people have not heard President Biden talk about this threat since the election?
Because there was an election and the American people spoke. Mm-hmm. The will of the American people were very clear. Right? And so the president is now in a situation where we have to deal with a peaceful transfer of power. We have to respect the will of the American people. And that's what you have been seeing from this president, trying to lead by example to make sure that that happens. And that's what the American people deserve. That's what the president deserves. And that's what I think he was very clear about in Rose Garden when he delivered his remarks 2 days after the election. And he said, he was very honest. He said, these, and again, I'm not quoting him exactly, but these were not the results that we had wanted, right? And that's just being honest. They weren't. But we are now in a position where he believes he has to lead by example and show what a peaceful transfer of power looks like. And so that's what you're seeing from this president. And, to the points that you made, I've been asked about existential threat. I've been asked about threat to our democracy. The president is always going to be honest with the American people. He feels like he is obligated. What he said still stands. But we are now in a different place. We are. The American people spoke. They deserve a peaceful transfer of power. That's what this president wants to do.
Does he have a message for people on what
Okay,
they
so what
should
was
do
it all
about
about? Oh, just politics as usual? You go around and compare people to Hitler, like, for fun? That was unbelievable, guys. I mean, we went through a lot. They told us a lot. They said, this is, game over. And then they make the conclusion on The View, where they're terrified they're going to lose their job, that somehow it's, again, just stupid people that voted for Donald Trump. I mean, it's like Bill Clinton say, oh, those rural voters, where they get their information. Because you're supposed to take it from the ladies at The View. I'm sorry. You know what? People are smarter and better than that. You're underestimating Americans. You really are. And Sonny continues to do it. Watch.
It's very difficult for people to believe that racism and misogyny, they're just alive and well. I think that we don't want to think that about ourselves, our neighbors, our friends. But it's my lived experience tells me that it does still exist, even if your lived experience doesn't tell you that it exists. And, the facts support that. I think we have a graph. If you look at there's a clear racial divide in who voted for Trump as opposed to who voted for Kamala Harris. It's very clear. It's not only clear by race, but it's also clear by education. And so the notion somehow that is not true. This is by education. Those who attended college voted for her at a higher degree than those that didn't.
But I think
I've
you're
said
missing
that.
his point.
Let me just finish. And so I've said that before, and there was so much backlash because I think it's an uncomfortable, inconvenient truth about this country.
But his whole point is they didn't vote.
All right. So you see, she's doubling down on this narrative that somehow you're just not smart enough, you're not bright enough, you're not educated enough. Maybe that's why she's making such a stink about Linda McMahon. How dare Linda McMahon actually say maybe you should go to vocational school instead of getting a PhD in gender studies. I mean, wow. Right? These people are so far off in left field. They still don't understand why it is that they didn't win. They still don't understand why anybody would possibly vote for Donald Trump. Of course, they still didn't understand what everybody was complaining about with inflation because they don't live in the real world. But I'll tell you this, they're about to. Because Disney is very seriously looking at selling off its broadcast and cable assets. And now NBC just beat them to it. So they're looking at this and saying, my gosh, what did they do over at Comcast? They created more shareholder value by spinning off the stuff that nobody wants, MSNBC. They are creating more shareholder value for Comcast. Well, what could Disney do? Isn't the onus on Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, to create more value for her shareholders? Well, the answer is you get rid of the dead weight. And that's why they're so antsy over there. I'm telling you, I told you this would happen. I told you it would happen with NBC. And of course, now we're looking at it in real time here with ABC. I want to encourage you as we look at a market that's shifting. Another great day for the market. I'm telling you, there are good things happening right now. And there's a lot of sectors that we get into, and there's specific stock names that we get into. At 76 Research, I created this company on purpose because I wanted you guys to be able to partake in this opportunity, which is going to be, in my estimation, a very good opportunity. Look, I can't, predict when, if there's some volatility, et cetera, but I can tell you about my belief in the overall trajectory, which is that we are poised for very, very good things. And you want to be part of that. So go over to investinmaga.com. Rob and I, Rob Horton, who's my co-founder at 76 Research, financial research firm, we put together this free guide. It doesn't cost anything. I just want you to have a chance to look at it and really understand what those opportunities are. We've talked a lot about Disney, in fact, in our research in the past, and have looked at that business. We've talked about the industry as a whole in terms of the entertainment industry, the media industry, all of those shifts, but there's more there. I mean, you think about Bitcoin, right? What do we tell you? In the newsletter, we said, you know what? You should be looking at it. If you get just a little cash that you don't mind seeing some volatility in, you probably ought to look at it. This was when it was just 65,000 going into the election, because we told you, did we not, that Bitcoin would really rally with the Trump presidency? A little bit more on that later in the show. But go to investinmaga.com or 76research.com and learn more today. I will tell you the funny thing about the ladies on The View is that they're so clueless. I mean, maybe Whoopi gets it because she's been a little bit more quiet than lately. But she's really clueless. All of them. Sunny is so clueless. You got Joy that's pretty clueless. They're all sort of out in left field, and they're nervous, but they don't fully get the game that needs to be played right now, unlike some people over at MSNBC that are playing the game big time.
Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
She goes on and on and on. I mean, you'd think she'd be, trying to channel some kind of great diplomacy effort with North Korea. By the way, she speaks about this. Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough going to Mar-a-Lago, hat in hand, and effectively sort of begging for forgiveness. Here's the deal. They knew what was happening. They knew what was going down. They knew that their company was going to get spun off. And they knew that, maybe it's not so great to be the Joy Reid figure in all of this, doubling down on hate in a moment like this, which is why, day after the election, this guy, Joe Scarborough, shows up in a suit and tie, trying to channel Tucker Carlson, talking about how he's a white, Southern, male conservative. It's like, where did that come from? I'll tell you where it came from. One guy won the election, and he knew his company was going to be up for sale. He knew it. So he's a survivor. He's trying to hang in there, unlike poor Sonny.
Look, the bottom line is that America needs a free press that is willing to speak truth to power right now, more than ever. And I think that we have to be very clear-eyed when we think about the president-elect and cover the president-elect. And I don't think you need to sit down for 90 minutes at Mar-a-Lago and kiss his ring to be able to speak truth and to be able to cover a story. So maybe they're not journalists in the true sense. Maybe they're saying that they're opinion journalists. But we have to remember that Trump is the guy who ushered in the era of fake news. He is the guy who ushered in alternative facts. He is the guy who attacked 3 black female journalists. He's the guy that revoked Jim Acosta's press credentials for asking him a question. And so I think that this president-elect, I hate to say it, would like nothing more than to have only Fox News cover him, would like nothing more than a state-sponsored media. And I don't think he can be trusted in the way that other presidents can be trusted. This is an aberration.
But the reality is he doesn't just have Fox News. He didn't do a lot of mainstream media this election, but he went on Joe Rogan and reached 50 million people.
Yeah, they all hate Joe Rogan, by the way. Right? Joy Behar says, oh, Joe Rogan, he's terrible. He believes in dragons. Why does anybody ever watch Joe Rogan? Everything's taken out of context. Of course, when you listen to the ladies on The View, they just come up with this nonsense. I mean, it's been a pretty hateful show. I've been astonished by the rhetoric coming out of their mouths, specifically one Whoopi Goldberg. And what I'm amazed at, again, I would just say she's a little smarter than some of the other ladies there. It's like Sunny is trying to take over that spot because Whoopi can't do it, because Whoopi knows she's on thin ice. She really will get fired before they even get a chance to spin off the company at this point. So maybe that's why they were so obsessed. Oh my gosh, Donald Trump can't win. He can't win. He can't win, because if he wins, we're really in trouble then. And they are, in that they have to go back to some kind of more measured, even coverage. It has not been measured. It has not been even. It's been anything but